Okay guys, it's been a few days. I haven't really looked at the Power Grill much lately because I've been working on other projects, but today's a good day and I'm probably going to have to head out soon anyway, so I figured it'd be a good chance for me to do my clear coats. I can get them done, put her in the cabinet, and I don't have to worry about the fumes and stuff. So I have my Duplicolor clear. You want to make sure you have a good can that's fairly full and also is spraying very well. If you have a can that's kind of caked up at the tip and you're spraying, you'll get like, splattering, and you don't want that. You want something nice, good flow. The other thing too is I have my little airbrush booth here for the garage for when I prime stuff, so I'll kick open my vacuum cleaner and I'll be able to suck out a lot of the dust, because you don't want dust flowing all around the item when you're spraying it, even when you prime too, because then you're spraying it, this is wet, and then dust is coming around on it and it gets all cakey. You want it to keep it as smooth as possible. And the other thing too is make sure you have a mask when you're doing this stuff. I have this 3M mask that I use a lot for when I prime and spray this stuff. So you're going to see me do a coat, and then I'll probably let it dry just a little bit as I spin her, and then I'll do another coat. And then when I think I'm at a good point, I'm going to let it set, and then we'll be good to go to seal it up. We'll like flat coat it. You want to make sure you don't go overboard, but you want to make sure you're at least securing this paint. So I'm going to go stop the camera. We're going to kick on the vacuum cleaner because it gets very loud, but it gives you just an idea of what I'm doing. Alright guys, so it's been about 15 minutes or so. It's fairly drying up fairly fast. You can see there is a shine to it, and I'm pretty sure my garage lights that are in here are making it look really brighter than what it is. But it almost looks like factory in person if you're not looking off camera. If you look at it in your face, it almost looks like a factory paint up, just a little bit on the bright side, shininess. That's going to get dulled down with the Garage Kit's dull coat, but what I like to do is I really like to let this stuff cure for like a day before I even dull coat it, because I tried in the past where I try to rush a project, and you never really should rush anything, but I clear coated an item and I brought it into the studio and then I tried to dull coat it, and for some odd reason certain areas would crack up. So I think there's a little bit of a, if this is still kind of wet, or at least underneath of it's still wet, and you try to dull coat it, it may kind of shrink the stuff or expand it. I don't really know. So I just really like to let this stuff cure for a while. And once this stuff is cured, this is a car paint. This is tough as hell. It's not going to crack. It's going to be like durable as all hell. And then you could dull coat it. You could do whatever you want. But even if somehow I messed up, like say I got a little bit of a speck of dust, because you want to make sure there's no dust on anything, and you had to take off that dust and you ripped off some paint, or you had to sand it down, you can still go in and you can hit it with some more, flesh tone paints, and then seal it again real quick with the Duplicolor. So it's not like it's a done deal and it's the end of the world and you'll never be able to fix anything. But right now it's just making sure it's all secured. So I also did the head the same process, but I don't like having the head on top of this piece where I can actually fall off. What I did is I did the body first. I take the body and I put it over there on the shelf, and then I take the head and I do the head, and then I put the head on the other shelf, because I don't like having too many things on here at once, because I've learned in the past where if I do too many things at once, I go grab this, I knock this one over, and it's just a nightmare. So it's the same process and everything, but everything's going to cure up. We'll come back in another day or so, we'll flat coat it, and then we'll start doing all the outfit and everything. But like I said, this really makes life easier at this point, where if I hit it with a paintbrush or anything, it's not gonna soak into that paint, because right now it almost feels in certain areas like a factory paint. Certain areas it might be a little bit rough, because that's because the paint, when you paint with the stuff, it kind of you get dust and everything, but more or less most of it feels like a factory paint up now to the touch. So we'll let this cure and we'll be back. Alright, it's the next day and she's dried up pretty good. Everything's looking good. You can pretty much see that the skin is smoothed out as much as possible now, and it's got a nice protective coat. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this Garage Kits flat top coat. It's really great stuff. I like using their paint slot. This top coat's really good though, because now I'm going to kind of take away the sheen a little bit of her skin, plus it'll give another protecting coat. And it's also good stuff, like if you ever have some paints that are kind of shiny, you can add this flat top coat into it, and you can kind of dull down the paint a little bit. Sometimes if I'm ever working on something and it's a little too shiny, I add this into there and it kind of works out pretty good. But I'm always experimenting, so you never know what effect it'll do, so you always got to test. But it's just a matter of taking this and just misting it all over the skin and just letting it go over there and take that sheen away. And then after that, we're going to start working on the outfits. So I'm going to start working on the head a little bit more. I got to do it off camera because it's all detailing work, and I can't really have the camera in the face while doing it. But what I did is I put white for the eyes the other day, and what I'm going to start doing now is I'll work out the eyelashes. I'll probably do the lips, and then I'll do the eyebrows, and then trim around the hair. The reason why for this specific statue I'm not doing the eyes first, because sometimes I like doing eyes first, is because these eye sockets are so small. It's almost easier to get the eyelashes in there first and everything, and then do the eyes and all that with the decals. It's just some things work, some things don't, but for this one I'm going to do that. Plus I got a lot of paint in my cup from doing some other paint trim on some other statues. I don't want to fit this in there now while I can, so I don't waste up that paint. And after that we'll start working out the trim on the outfit, and then I'll explain that when I get to that. Alright, so I did the detailing on the eyes for the eyelashes, and I did the lips. Lips I kept a little bit more pinkish red. I didn't go too, I didn't put any metallic paint in there to give it the nice gloss. I kept her just kind of like Amanda's artwork, where she kind of has, lipstick on, but it's kind of just like a pinkish. It's not really anything crazy, hard red or anything like that. So that's where I'm at the moment. So I'm going to probably do the trim of the hair when I work up on some other items that are yellow paint. So I'll wait till I have all the yellow paint items set up, and I can do the trim out all at once. Alright, I'm going to do her eyebrows now, and if you're looking at the picture and the way it's sculpted, you got one eyebrow raised a little bit over the other, like she's, raising an eyebrow at you. Now, if you ever have a problem painting eyebrows, what I like to do is get my placement first. You can do acrylic paint if you're good with it, but sometimes, you mess up. So what I like to use is I like to use watercolor, and basically watercolor is just, you could wipe it on, you wipe it off, especially the way I did the paint up with the clear coat. By doing that clear coat, you can actually use watercolor and kind of get your placement of where the eyebrow is going to go. And like say I'm messing up and I went too high like that, as you can see, you could kind of just wipe it right off. And that's the good thing about watercolor, at least on the statue. It's kind of like drawing with pencil. You can kind of get where you're going to put the eyebrow. It gives you a good sense of placement. And if you think you're messing up, you can kind of take it off. Like, that's just kind of rough, as you can kind of see. But this one's kind of raised a little bit more. And it's like I'm almost drawing with a pencil of where the eyebrows are going to go. So you can kind of see is I'm starting to, hold on, so I'm starting to kind of draw where they're at. And watercolor will dry, but the good thing about it is you can always add water later. Now it may stain it a little bit if you're actually using a paint without that clear coat that I did, and it could stain it a little bit in the paint, but you could still kind of wipe it off. So I'm kind of getting where I want it to go. This is kind of raised a little too far, so as you can see I'm just using my finger with some saliva and just took it right off. And if at any point, you think you did too much, you could also take a paper towel and you can kind of dab it. But usually you just kind of, and you can use water too to kind of pull it away. So if you've never used watercolor before, it's not a bad idea to kind of get yourself a little bit of a guide or something like this. So I pretty much have where I'm going to go with it. So now I can actually go with my acrylic paints. I'm going to turn off the camera, get in a little bit closer because I got to make sure I'm doing this correctly. But that's just a little bit of a tip for you guys. So watercolors are really good if you want to just guide some stuff. You could do lips in watercolor. I've done that in the past. And you could do watercolor lips and you could kind of blend it and everything, but you have to really make sure you seal it. Watercolor is fine for a lot of statues. I know a lot of guys on hobby use watercolor on stuff, but the thing is, if this is like a change of head. If you were to ever do watercolor on something and you had like really tacky fingers or it's moisture outside, you could kind of rub it off. So you got to just make sure you seal the stuff correctly. But it's just a good guideline, and I'm just going to go and finish this up, and we'll get ready to mask this hair up down the line and finish painting the hair.